Folks, David here on the Vintage Future once again, and today I want to show you this Westhofen shirt. It's a company out of Switzerland. They make their stuff in Italy out of Japanese fabrics, and they're really amazing. This was sent to me to review. I'm not required to say positive things, but it is a really nice shirt, and so a lot of the things I say will be positive, but I'm going to try to be as objective as possible about it. I'm really loving this shirt so far. In case you don't really have a category for this in your mind, it's a heavyweight, really soft flannel shirt, something similar to what you would get from Ironheart with the famous Ironheart heavyweight flannel, or maybe a company like the Flathead. There's a bunch of different companies out there that have something like this. UES has this as well, but that's what this is supposed to be. So I'll show you some close-ups from their website and whatnot so you can really get a feel for what the fabric itself is like. But I wanted to stand here in front of you, even though most of my videos don't feature me standing here like this, because I think this is the best way for you to be able to see some of the features on the shirt. So I'll just kind of point things out as I go along. So first of all, as I said, this is very similar to something like an Ironheart heavyweight flannel. This is a 13-ounce Japanese flannel fabric, brushed until it's super, super soft. But this is like the heaviest, thickest, but also comfiest, warmest flannel I own. So this is not something you're going to be wearing in like the spring, summer usually. Like if it's hot, you're going to be wearing this like fall, winter, at least here in North America. Count on the Swiss to know how to make a flannel that keeps you warm, right? The color is what I would call like abysmal black. It's like supposed to be called jet black. That's the name of this color, and it's really aptly named. It is a really, really dark black. As you might know if you've been in fabrics or clothing for a long time, every color does kind of have undertones and overtones. So like with blues, you have blues that are kind of like reddish underneath, some blues that are kind of greenish underneath. Sometimes you get a black and it's got some like brownish look to it in certain lights or different kinds of shades. This is a true deep jet black. It's the kind of black that seems to just like suck all the light out of the room like a black hole, right? It's like you lose yourself in it. For that reason, it's very hard to photograph. It's very hard to get on camera well, but it's a very nice, luxurious fabric. And the black is that true like Johnny Cash black. One thing I like about this shirt as far as the overall design goes is that it's Western inspired, but it's not a straight up Western shirt. That way you can wear it even if you're not way into Western wear. So if you don't always want to look like a cowboy, but you do appreciate some of the elements of that aesthetic, this is the kind of shirt that would go really well because you've got the snap buttons that you would see on a lot of Western shirts, but you don't see like, you know, the sawtooth pocket flaps and stuff like that. And one part that adds to that too is the back. Like on the back, I think this upper yoke right here that goes across the back is Western-ish, but it's not too much. I also like that they place that far enough above the shoulder blades to where it's like nice and comfortable. Like I don't feel a seam like jabbing into my shoulders anywhere if I move around. And it also just adds a lot of nice shape to the back, again, without being overly Western. So I think this crosses over well. If you like to wear a cowboy kind of stuff, this will fit the bill. But if you don't, you could still wear a shirt like this and it's not going to look odd. It's a slim fit. Typically it would be true to size, but it does depend on your body proportions. For me, size medium, which is my true to size, fits well, but as you see it fits like a slim fit. So this is something that you could wear as a layer underneath a jacket or whatever, because it fits snug enough to your body to where if you're putting a jacket or other multiple layers over it, it's not going to bunch up underneath that. If slim fit is not really your bag, then maybe a relaxed fit would be better by going up one size. The body of the garment is a long rectangle cut, and it kind of does scoop in at the sides just a little bit and flare out at the hips. Nothing insane. Like at most angles you wouldn't be able to tell that it does that, but I can feel it. And in certain like straight on photos you can tell. But yeah, it scoops in a little bit and then flares out just a little bit at the hips. But it's this long rectangular kind of look. It's a little thick, so you probably wouldn't want to tuck this in, but the die-hard tuckers, you could definitely tuck this in. It's like plenty long in the front and the back. And so that's great. But when it's untucked, it's not too long. Sometimes there's an issue when things are too long and it looks sloppy untucked, or if it's too short, it looks a little weird. It looks like it's cropped. And then when you raise your arms to like grab something or whatever, then it like shows your belly button. This is like the perfect height. I think they've cut this pattern just right as far as length goes. And as you'll see with many shirts, it kind of goes up right here. So that makes it easier to access your pockets and stuff, you know, as opposed to just going straight across. And it adds a nice silhouette to your figure. One thing that they've done, which you'll see in a lot of high-end garments, especially like men's dress wear, like sport coats, blazers, things like that, is they cut the armholes a little high. If you have very large or muscular shoulders, that could be a problem for you. In that case, either this might not be the shirt for you, or you might want to size up one. But for many people, if you go true to size, you're going to find it's nice because you get a lot of mobility, right? Because if it's too low, you'll get it pulling a lot. So it has this nice effect on your appearance because everything looks very slim and trim, right? But you get that mobility. So that's been really nice, you know, driving in the car or whatever, grabbing things. It's not the kind of shirt that looks amazing, but kind of feels like a straitjacket. You've got a lot of range of motion, and I like that high cut armhole for that reason a lot. As far as the arms go, I think the length of the sleeves is perfect for me anyways. When you first get it, for me anyhow, it was a little long, but kind of like a leather jacket or a denim jacket. Once these arm creases develop, it pulls it up to like the perfect spot, and it'll kind of form to your body. That's one nice thing about this thicker kind of fabric. When you have thicker fabrics like this, they do tend to mold to your body almost the way that like a leather jacket or a denim jacket would. And so this, after wearing this for like a couple whole days, I'm really feeling like it's molded to my body, and it's super comfortable for that reason. When I first got it, it was really kind of boxy and stiff and didn't look great. It had a lot of really like hard creases in it from being folded up in a box for shipping and stuff like that. But once I steamed those out and started to wear it around, and my body heat did its work on it, like now I just feel like it's the shell that's perfectly fitted to my body. So that's one really cool thing about fabrics like this. On the upper arm, I like how the whole shoulder seam is executed. It falls right in the right place, at least on my body. I'm like an 18-inch shoulder or so. This is a size medium. I usually wear a size medium or a size 40 in different kinds of coats and jackets. But yeah, the shoulder seam is right where it should be. If it's like way down here, it's not the end of the world, but it shows that it's not an ideal fit. If it's like way up here, again, not an ideal fit, but I like that it falls right here. And then this seam that goes across, I like that it's not right in the center of your shoulder. It's kind of set forward just a little bit. That adds comfort. So like it's not pushing on your shoulder bone or whatever. The same thing could be said about this arm seam. One issue I have with a lot of garments is they put that seam running down the side of the arm right over where your elbow goes, which means when you bend your arm like this, it's uncomfortable because that thick seam is pushing on the tip of your elbow. And then if you put your arm on like, yeah, an armrest on a chair or on a table, or you're driving and it's on the console, it's very uncomfortable. I've had many shirts like that. It's a very common mistake they make in patterning. I don't get it. Denim jackets are like that. Whether it's an old school vintage jacket or a new one, they're often like that. I don't like that. I think this is a well-designed arm because the seam is on the inside and there's nothing uncomfortable to prevent range of motion and all that. One thing I don't like about the sleeves, but this is just because it's a heavyweight flannel, I would think it'd be the same with any heavyweight flannel, is because the fabric is so heavy, this doesn't tend to want to roll up very well. So like you can roll it up, okay, so I can go once, I can go twice, right? But then after that, it's just like so thick, like, and then this sleeve is a little slim, and I'm afraid that if I were to try to like force it, you know, I could roll this, but I'm afraid I'd start to put too much pressure on this cuff seam right here. So yeah, you can roll it up a couple times easily. After that, you can't really do that. So if that's a look that's really important to you, like if you're always rolling your shirts up like to here or here, this might not be the shirt for you. As far as the cuff size goes, I like it a lot. If it's too big, I think it looks sloppy and dumb. If it's too small, it might not fit everyone's wrist. And if you're the kind of person that wears a wristwatch, it's hard to use shirts like that. It bugs me when I wear a wristwatch if I have a coat or a shirt that has really tight cuffs, because then you can't really use it and your sleeve ends up way up here and it's like running into the watch. This is the kind of shirt that you could easily wear a wristwatch and yet the cuffs are still not too large so that they still look good. These snap buttons are all a YKK product. YKK is like on pretty much everything. They're like an industry standard. They do have different quality levels, just like a lot of brands. I can't speak to the quality level of these, but they seem like they're very strong and very hardy. And they're also like placed really well in the thick fabric. I've had a lot of shirts and jackets where the snap buttons are placed in a really flimsy fabric. And the problem with that is when you pull on the garment to undo the button, it pulls on the fabric and the fabric's not strong enough for it, and so the fabric begins to tear after a lot of wear. I don't think these are going to have that problem. Every one of these buttons is seated really securely and nicely, and so whether you're doing the button or undoing the button, everything functions really well. And there's a nice solid snap with each of the buttons, which leads me to believe these are really good ones, and they're going to hold up for a really long time, unlike some other garments that I've had where after a while they just kind of like won't button anymore because the metal inside bends. As far as button placement goes, I think it's really nice. These are things that we often don't think much about when we look at a garment. We just go like, oh, they just put the buttons wherever. But that's absolutely not true. They do have to think about where they all go. It's a big pet peeve of mine where sometimes on garments they put this too high, and it's like by buttoning that second button, you might as well button the top button too because it closes the entire collar. I like that if you button this top button like this, you still have an open throat and you don't feel constricted at all. But then when you undo this one, it kind of rolls open slowly and nicely instead of just like flapping open. It's a really good button placement all the way up and down the front of the shirt, in my opinion. The pocket placement is also great. When you put the pockets too low on a shirt like this, in my opinion, it looks a little silly. And then when you put them too high, obviously it looks too silly, but it's also hard to get things in and out. Like if I were to use this and it was too high, you kind of have to reach up and over, right? And I like the placement of these. They look really, really nice, and they're also very functional if you want to put something in there. You can't put something too large in there. As you can see by the size of my hand, like you can't put some like your cell phone or whatever in there, but you can put some small objects in there if you want to, and they'll do just fine. As far as quality goes, I didn't go over this with a magnifying glass, but from what I can tell, the stitching everywhere seems pretty stinking straight. I haven't seen any like insane flaws. Now, this is a black shirt with matching black thread, so it is kind of hard to see even if there was a mistake, but I haven't found anything so far. And so rest assured, you know, something this price, you are getting pretty good craftsmanship. I can't claim it's the best ever, but usually people aren't like, you know, stitch counting and all that stuff when it comes to something like a shirt, as long as it's like generally straight and things aren't sewn like lopsided or crooked, everything's fine. And that's how this is. Everything seems to be put together really, really well. So this is just an initial review, my first impressions of this. What are some things we should be looking out for before I do my real review months from now when I've used this shirt a lot? One, I'm always asking, is everything gonna last? Is the hardware gonna last? Are these buttons gonna give way? Like they snap really well right now. Are they gonna get all bent and deformed soon and then stop working? That's one thing. Are these buttons gonna rip out of the fabric? They don't seem like they are, but we're gonna keep an eye out on that. Also the seams, like everything's all together now, but is the thread gonna be compromised in 6 months? And like I end up with holes at some of the seams. Another thing is like color retention in the fabric. Everybody's garment looks amazing when it's brand new, but the real test of a good garment is the color retention good? Or if you wash it like a single time, is suddenly the black turning into a brown or whatever? You know, provided that you don't throw it in the dryer and just like cook the thing. Obviously, if you fry it in the dryer, no garment's gonna do well, but as long as you're taking good care of your clothing, yeah, is the color staying in it or does it change over time? So we're gonna see how this color changes over time or if it stays as this true black shade. Also, with something like this, I want to know, do we lose this soft, fuzzy, brushed flannel feeling after we've used it for a while? Is it going to pill really bad? Like, is the surface going to get matted down and be ugly, or is it going to maintain beauty over time? Obviously, if you use a garment for like 15 years, it's going to look like you've worn it a lot. But a good garment will last, you know, for several years of wear without looking all ratty and nasty. And so that's what I want to know about this fabric. Right now, it's really won me over. You know, the outside's fuzzy, the inside is the weft, as you call it, is still soft, but it's not that fuzzy, soft look that the outside has. But whether it's the inside or the outside, how's it going to perform in the long run? Those are the things that I'm going to be looking for as time goes on. As of now, I really have no big complaints with this. The one which would just be kind of intrinsic to anything black, whether it's like a black car or black pants or black shirt or whatever, is of course animal hair and stuff like that is very visible on a black garment like this. And so I've already taken a lint roller to it a couple times. I do have pets in the house. So yeah, if you have pets and stuff, it might not be the best one to get. The green one that they have looks amazing. In fact, my brother was like, dude, you should have got the green one. But I had a need for an all black long sleeve shirt in my casual wardrobe, and so I went with this one instead. But yeah, obviously if black bugs you, or you have animal hair problems or something like that, just don't get the black one. Like get or buy a lint roller, you know, buy a lint roller, get the green one instead, or get some of the other ones, the other shirt that they have, which is more of like a plaid. It's like a workwear construction looking kind of flannel. That one's really cool too. So I'm loving the shirt so far. I love it when you get a product like this, and you know, even though you're not required to say positive things, you know, you've agreed to do a review and you don't feel like you're having to force it. Like, it's like the product speaks for itself. You're like, no, this is great. I don't have to like, I don't have this temptation to try to make stuff up. It's just great the way it is. So I'll give the real review months from now. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments below. And until next time, let your shirts take you, no, let your things take you places more important than the things themselves. See you next time.